captions so everybody can see captions. Good morning, everyone. This is regular and substantive interaction part 1 of a two-part series, and then we're also going to offer a workshop coming up. I can't remember when the workshop is. I know that part 2 is in 2 weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I am really excited to share this information with you. Kim Estes is going to watch the chat for me. In the event that you have any questions, please post them there. My screen will be somewhat covered up because I'm going to share my whole screen. So if you have questions, go ahead and post them, and no, I will answer them as I have a chance to. All righty, here we go. Okay. First of all, the bit.ly for today's presentation, if you would like to look at a copy of it, is bit.ly/R, capital S, capital I, hyphen, capital P, ART, and the number 1. So if you want to open that up, it's bit.ly/RSI part 1. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about today. And since RSI is such a riveting subject that everyone wants to discuss, and we do want you to pay attention, there are lots of buzzwords, we're going to play bingo. I actually have a tool that I like to use called Bingo Baker. So it is really easy to use, and I'm going to paste this link in the chat for everybody so you can join. You just click on the link and you're going to get a copy of your own bingo card, and you just click generate card. It's really simple to do. And when you do that, it's your own bingo card, and you click OK. And when you click on it, it marks it. And then if you click on it again, it unmarks it. So if you accidentally mark something, you can unmark it, and we're going to go for a blackout. So that means all spaces covered on your bingo card. So you're going to be listening for the terms that appear on your bingo card and marking them as you hear them. I know you're super excited about that. All right, so these are the topics we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the federal regulations related to RSI and what those clarifications are. We're going to talk about Connect Campus expectations regarding RSI. We're going to define the difference between correspondence courses and distance learning courses. And then there was a question early on in the semester when we had Connections Week about a checklist of things that might help with RSI. So we've actually developed something like that. So I'm going to cover that as well. So first of all, let's kick it off with the federal regulations regarding regular and substantive interaction, or RSI. This is the regulatory definition, part 1. It says that education uses one or more of the technologies listed in paragraphs 2I through 4 of this definition to deliver instruction to students who are separated from the instructor and to support regular and substantive interaction between the students and the instructor, either synchronously or asynchronously. That's where that regular and substantive piece comes from. This is a code that existed in federal law prior to July the 1st, 2021. However, due to lawsuits where institutions were actually sued for return of federal financial aid funds, the institutions asked for clarification and countersued, saying that the law was so unclear that they couldn't possibly follow it. So the federal government clarified the law, and those clarifications were codified and became enforceable as of July the 1st, 2021. So that's what we're talking about here. The second part is that these are the technologies that may be used to offer distance education. So it can be the internet, it can be 1- and 2-way transmissions through any open broadcasting, closed circuit, cable, microwave, broadband lines, fiber optics, satellite or wireless communication devices, audio conferencing, or other media used in a course in conjunction with any of the technologies that are previously listed. For example, a cell phone would be, you could use to offer distance education. That would be a wireless communication device. For the purposes of this definition, an instructor is any individual responsible for delivering a course content who meets the qualifications for instruction established by an institution's accrediting agency. Our accrediting agency is SAC-COC, so that would be anyone who meets those accrediting requirements. This is where the rubber hits the road in regard to RSI, is part 4. For the purposes of this definition, substantive interaction is engaging students in teaching, learning, and assessment consistent with the content under discussion and includes at least 2 of the following. Now, I'm going to notify you that the federal regulation says 2 of the following. TCC's expectation is that we do 3 of the following. So the first one is that provide direct instruction. The second part is assessing or providing feedback on a student's coursework. The third is providing information or responding to questions about the content of a course or competency. The fourth is facilitating a group discussion regarding the content of a course or a competency. And the fifth is any other instructional activities approved by the institutions or the program's accrediting agency, in our case, SAC-COC. So anything that SAC-COC meets an instructional activity that would count also counts. And the fifth part is that the institution ensures regular interaction between the student and an instructor or instructors by, prior to the student's completion of a course or competency, providing the opportunity for substantive interactions with the students on a predictable and scheduled basis, commensurate with the length of time and the amount of content in the course or competency. So you have to have regular and predictably scheduled interactions. And you have to monitor the student's academic engagement and success, ensuring that an instructor is responsible for promptly and proactively engaging in substantive interaction with the student when needed on basis of such monitoring or upon request by the student. This is where we get into the interaction has to be initiated by the instructor, that piece of it, rather than the student simply requesting. I don't know. My experience as an undergraduate in some situations was that quite often I would go to meet with my professor on campus face to face. I would go during office hours. I would knock on the door. The lights were out. The door was locked and no one was there. And there was no note to show me that the professor had gone to the restroom and was coming back or anything like that. And I'd wait 5 or 10 minutes and my professor just wasn't there available for me for office hours. That is not the case. You have to be present and available for students to contact you, and that has to be initiated by the instructor. Okay, so this is Connect Campus's definition. These are our expectations. As I previously mentioned, Connect Campus has an expectation that instructors include at least 3 of those 5 defining items. That is a higher expectation than the federal government standard. The reasoning behind that is if we raise the bar and we have a higher expectation for our instructors, by meeting that higher expectation, we are meeting the federal government's expectation and therefore will not be found to be short. So these are, this is an example of a Freyer model where you have characteristics of definition and examples and non-examples. And what we're going to get talking about is the difference between distance learning and correspondence courses. And I want you to be thinking about a course that you currently teach and think about, as we start to talk about what are the characteristics of distance learning versus what are the characteristics of a correspondence course. What kind of a course do you currently teach? So a correspondence course typically is self-paced. A student comes into the course, all the modules are available or will unlock as the student progresses through the course, and the student paces himself or herself. Now, that means you can have it within a 16-week period, a defined amount of time, but the student paces himself or herself. So if it's planned to be a 16-week course, but the student can finish it in 4 weeks, yay for me. It has limited or no interaction between the instructor and the learner. Again, a correspondence course is a course in which the student can enter into the course and potentially may not have to have any interaction at all with the instructor in order to complete the course. The student simply does the work, turns the work in, and moves progressively through the course. Does not require me to have a discussion with my professor, does not require me to meet with the professor for office hours, none of those kinds of things. I simply take the class and can complete it. The interaction is not regular or scheduled. Again, professor puts the course out there. The student can take it at any time or can open it and close it, complete it at any time. And there is no interaction scheduled between the instructor and the student. For example, if I were taking a speech class, there is no time in which I have to, as a student, meet with my professor and schedule my speeches. I simply just record speeches and turn them in, and I might get feedback on them. Correspondence courses additionally are limitedly available for financial aid. They typically do not receive financial aid or qualify for financial aid, but they can under specific circumstances. Distance learning courses, however, the interaction can be synchronous or asynchronous. So similarly to correspondence courses, in distance learning courses, you can have synchronous meetings between instructors and students, or you can have asynchronous, where students can access the content on their time when it's available to them. Many of our students enroll in Connect Campus courses because of the asynchronous option. It's available, the content is available to them at any time, and they need flexibility in their schedule. Unlike a traditional face-to-face course in which they're expected to show up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 11. The interaction is initiated by the instructor in a distance learning course. This is where the rubber really hits the road. This is where we see that distance learning. The instructor has to have an interaction with the student. This can be through announcements. It can be through commentary on discussion boards. It can be through specific and individualized feedback on student assignments. There are a wide variety of ways that we can increase interaction. We're going to discuss those shortly. And the interaction is regular and scheduled. One of the most important pieces of RSI, and the one that a lot of people tend to focus on of late, is office hours. Office hours are regular and scheduled. As a Connect Campus faculty member, our full-time faculty members are required to offer 10 office hours per week. Our adjuncts are required to offer 30 minutes per week. Those minutes should be regularly scheduled and should be available for students. For example, in the online instructor course that I help facilitate, we have regularly scheduled office hours on Wednesdays and Fridays from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. and on Thursdays from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. Those are posted. Our students who are enrolled in the OIC class can attend those. That information is shared in the announcements, and someone from the instructional design department is monitoring the Teams chat during those times. We have a chat window open. We're watching. If a student comes in, we can answer questions. We can be continuing to work on other things while we have our office hours open, but there's someone monitoring the entire period of 2 hours to make sure. And because we have multiple staff members, sometimes somebody takes an hour and somebody else takes another hour. And you're going to have to think about your schedule and how you can fit that in. But you need to have the hours available so that if a student drops in, you can answer their questions. Whether a student chooses to use office hours or not, the expectation and the requirement is that you offer them on a regular schedule basis. Distance learning classes are also eligible for financial aid. So this is really why RSI becomes important, because if the courses are audited and they are found to be lacking and found to be correspondence courses rather than distance learning courses, the institution can be required to return any financial aid monies that were paid for students to take that class. So it's really important that we make sure that we're meeting that RSI requirement so that we're not having to pay back financial aid for courses that might be determined to be correspondence courses. And the question again was raised during Connections Week, who would do the auditing? If you read the February ID newsletter, we actually did some research and found out that that would either be SAC COC during a standard SAC COC accreditation time, or the Department of Education. Typically, SAC COC would report that to the DOE, and then the DOE would do further investigation. So how do you schedule this? What does this really look like? This is a potential schedule of course activities that you might do, say, in the first 5 weeks of a course. A 16-week course, an 8-week course, maybe a month-long course for Connect. In week 1, you're going to post a welcome announcement video. You probably already do that anyway. So you're going to welcome students to the class. You're going to offer course navigation. You're going to explain how the course works. You're going to survey students potentially to find out their most popular times to host potential live or synchronous activities. Remember that you are more than welcome to schedule those at your convenience, but if you have them during times when a lot of students are available, you're more likely to get more students. So that would be a great time to do that during week 1. Then during week 2, you might post an announcement that reviews the discussion board responses from week 1, highlighting specific things from introductions from students, things that are common to you, things that you share differences, things that were interesting, the different makeup. You might, break down the makeup of the class and say, we have 10% of our enrollees in this class are in the military and they're currently serving, those kinds of things. You might talk about important points that they need to pay attention to in the upcoming week learning, or you might preview different pieces of information for the course. In week 3, you might again review the discussion board responses, talking about points that students potentially missed in the discussion, saying, you guys did a really great job discussing this particular point and main point, but again, remember, there's another point and there wasn't as much discussion about this. You might offer a live recorded lecture and offer the option of skipping a discussion board if you attend the lecture. Now remember, if you're going to do something like this, because a lot of our classes are asynchronous and have that asynchronous component, you need to record those synchronous sessions and post them so that students who cannot attend because it's not in their schedule have the opportunity to view it. But by offering a live opportunity where students can ask questions either by coming off of mute or by interacting via the chat, those students who are not able to attend see what other students get to do. Now, I know I had a chance to talk with one of our professors earlier in the semester, and we talked about some things, and she actually offers the opportunity to talk about a discussion board, and if students attend a live synchronous opportunity, then those students don't have to post to the discussion board. They're excused from that discussion board that week because they actually participate in a face-to-face conversation. So the students who are not able to attend because the timing wasn't good for them would then watch the course video, listen to the discussion, and then either offer commentary, add to the discussion, offer their own points or viewpoints to the discussion and post to the discussion board so that they also could get those opportunity for those points. By doing that, you're encouraging people to attend those synchronous sessions and get that interaction, as well as offering that interactive piece. If you think of these kinds of planned interactions for regular and substantive interaction as opportunities to provide those interactions that would occur in a face-to-face course. For example, if I'm going to your chemistry class and I sit in a lecture hall of 300 people, I might raise my hand and ask for clarification. You as the instructor might either allow me to ask the question then, acknowledge me and tell me that I need to wait 5 minutes, ask me for my question, and then tell me that you're about to address it. However you handle those kinds of questions in a live lecture format. But that's the kind of interaction that we're wanting to build and substantive interaction. We're trying to take those asynchronous opportunities where there isn't that human touch piece and allow for those to happen in a planned, purposeful way. In week 4, you might offer a recorded lecture that's live with interaction planned using the QQTP strategy, which is having posting something maybe in an announcement previewing the discussion and having the students come with a quote, a question that they have, and a talking point, and being prepared to address those things. So maybe they have a quotation from the text or the reading. They have a question that they have about the text or the reading and some talking point that they want to share. And then you bring those pieces in to that live lecture. Again, that could also be a discussion board that you do. In the 5th week, you might offer a synchronous activity such as an escape room or a breakout room. You might do something like an interactive gamified learning experience like a Kahoot or a Socrative race, which is one of my favorite, or GimKit is another one. Something that replaces an assignment, again, encouraging them to participate in those activities. And at this point, you're 4 weeks into the course, you might survey students to find out what's working in the course and maybe what needs to be tweaked a little bit. And we're not saying that you have to adjust all of your course content, but if you're constantly offering those live synchronous sessions at, let's say, 6 p.m. on Wednesday, and you get 2 people that regularly attend and you have a class of 50, you might ask, would 8 p.m. on Wednesday be a better time? Or would lunchtime on Thursday be a better time? And offer some options for them to respond. Remember that planning and scheduling interactions that are initiated by the instructor make sure to offer an equitable option to anybody that can't attend those live synchronous activities. So if you're allowing that, you're recording it, you're offering an alternative, you're giving something to those folks who are attending those courses because they are asynchronous and schedule flexible. So here is that checklist. Now, please understand that this is not I check it off, I did it, therefore I met RSI. These are simply things that you potentially could do to meet RSI. Because RSI, the clarifications went into effect on July the 1st, 2021, and we really haven't had time for test cases to hit the courts yet, we're not totally certain what it is specifically, like how many times you have to do this. But if you're regularly doing this, if you plan these sorts of activities, if you are regularly giving meaningful and specific feedback, like at least one assignment a week, if you are posting an announcement that's applicable and academic at least once a week, if you are hosting tutorials every other week and they're on your calendar and in your syllabus and in your ICR, those kinds of things point to your documentation of supporting regular and substantive interaction. You can say, I did it regularly, and the substantive piece is that it's tied to the academic content of your area. So it's all about documentation. It's all about tracking, and Canvas has some amazing tools for that. But these are some of the things that if you're not doing them now, you might think about picking up 1 or 2 of these and adding them to a course that you currently teach that is a distance learning course. For example, if you do not use the Canvas inbox to follow up with students who have late or missing work, and I'll show you where to find that. It's really useful to do that because Canvas tracks all of our interactions at time and date, stamps it. It actually forwards those things to students in their TCC email, so they get those comments. And if you go into a Canvas course, so let me just go into my Canvas classes, and I will pick on my test student in my accelerated OIC. If I pick on the test student, I can click on the 3 dots and I can message students who have not yet submitted work. So if they're missing an assignment or they have something missing, I can actually send that message to them, and it tells them that it has not been submitted. And that's all time and date stamped. Then I can go into my inbox, which is this little mailer on the left-hand side, and I can see the number of interactions I've had with that student. I can click on sent emails and see how many times I've sent them messages. I can see how many things are not read that I may have missed. I can look at starred messages that I've starred. I can look at comments and submissions. There are lots of things I can do, but all of these are tracked in Canvas for you, and everything is documented. And if you go into, if I go back in my course really quickly, and I go back to my student, if I move this really fast down here, you notice that I have my analytics. I can click on my analytics for this student, and you can see this is the bar version. It's kind of a visual version, but I really prefer to toggle it here. You can see the activity of the student by date. You can see what that student did. You can see the actions that student took, and you actually get a list of all the assignments, and you can tell where that student is progressing and how they're missing. You can look at the grades that student has gotten. You also get lists of communications. If you sent emails and these instructor messages, you get lists of communications, and it's super helpful. And you can print that as documentation of regular and substantive interaction as well. Super helpful. So you can do weekly academically related announcements using the Canvas announcements tool. If you look in the upcoming March newsletter, we have 5 tips on how to do that. Connecting current events and happenings to things that you're learning. Regularly scheduled and posted office hours that are available for students to attend. Remember that it has to be available for students to attend it. They don't have to attend it. Regular, timely, and specific feedback to student assignments or discussions. Using that feedback library comments bank is super helpful for that, because you can build some comments that you regularly give, and then you can add a little bit and edit that specifically to the student. Regularly scheduled interactive live lectures where students can unmute or chat. We've mentioned that. Rubrics are another way to include specific feedback. Again, you can use that rubric and then click on the comments in the rubric and get additional information. There's that Canvas comments library to store specifically common used feedback opportunities. I do that regularly. It's super helpful for me because I have things that are quite long. Various things that I'm quoting from the TCC faculty guide that they need the piece of information along with the citation, and it's easier for me to store that in the comments library and then specifically address why I'm pointing that out. Providing positive feedback to students who are on track. Again, you can go into that gradebook, click on those 3 dots, and send information to students who got, say, an 80 or greater on an assignment, and pat them on the back and give them that positive feedback as well. It doesn't just have to be about chasing down the students who have late or missing work. Participating in discussion boards to comment on common themes, address misconceptions, or just interact. Someone commented, we had a post in the February ID newsletter about discussion boards, and someone commented that there was research that indicated if a professor initiated the contact, that the student would interact with the professor rather than with other students. Allows building students and teaching them how to interact with each other, but then commenting on the general flow or commentary of the discussion, or highlighting specific, this is a really great post. Look at this if you need a model of how to post, those kinds of things, or saying, this is a common misconception. A lot of people think this, but actually the reality is this. That can be very useful. We talked about sharing real world or current events to connect to course content, making a personalized welcome message that features your image or your voice. And It is interesting how uncomfortable people are on video. They want to record a video that has no image of them, just their voice and a series of PowerPoints, except that when you put your face in, students have a person to connect to. They know who their instructor is. They know what you look like. And the reality is, if you are standing up in a face-to-face course lecturing in front of students, they're looking at you every day. They see you every day. So all you're doing is changing the format. It might be very uncomfortable for you to look at yourself or listen to your own voice, but remember, this is about providing that comfort to the students and making that connection with the students. Offering opportunities for student feedback using things like question and answer, making, a discussion board that's a Q&A board where they can interact, offering an exit ticket activity or a closure activity where they reflect on the learning of that day. Something that allows them the opportunity to reflect and offer feedback on that instruction. Providing regularly and scheduled opportunities for peer-to-peer connection and interaction. That can be things like discussion boards, that could be tutorial groups, that could be having that synchronous learning opportunity like an escape room, and you break them into breakout rooms within teams, and they have the opportunity to connect with their peers and share ideas. Summarizing the previous week's course content or previewing the current content in the announcements. We've already talked about that. And using the responsive feedback option in new quizzes so that when students select an answer, either correct answers are reinforced and they're given additional depth of information, or incorrect answers are directed to a point where they can go back and find the information correctly. If you're offering multiple opportunities on a quiz, you point them to where they can go find the correct information. For example, if I checked the answer about regular and substantive interaction, it specifically says, check module 2 for more information on this topic so that you can get the correct answer or information. Real quickly, we have a couple of resources for you. There is an RSI section in our instructional resource hub. If you have not visited the instructional resource hub, it's available to you. It's also linked in the Connect hub that's available now. And the RSI is down here. So if I click on it, it will take me there, and it has all kinds of information about regular and substantive interaction. Here's the law from the Department of Education. We have information about the differences between correspondence and distance learning. We have examples and the cases that have been involved in RSI and how those led up to RSI being redefined, some frequently asked questions, and we are updating that as we get them, TCC's expectations, and some more resources and materials. So that's available to you, and I'm really excited about the next thing, which is that we have an introductory course to RSI available in Canvas. You can register for it. It opened today. If you click on that image, it will take you here to the Learn Center, and you can actually learn more about the federal regulations, district expectations. It covers what constitutes RSI. It goes a little bit more into depth about the difference between correspondence courses and distance learning courses. It gives you some specific strategies for dealing with distance learning courses. And it's 3 hours because we actually ask you to provide some examples. So take a course that you're currently teaching and tweak it a little bit so that you are actually meeting those RSI requirements. So you get 3 hours of professional development credit for that one. And that one opened today. It's an ongoing enrollment and it's self-paced. So you can do that, but it does have regular and substantive interaction built into it. So I'm going to check the chat and just see what we've got going here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Looks like Natalie, you're welcome for the RSI courses, and yes, you absolutely should come take the class with us. So I'm just looking for, oh, Natalie got a bingo. Yay! I'm sorry I missed that. Hooray for you. And this is a great way, if you have a lecture, the bingo is a great way to make sure that people are paying attention to what you're saying, is having them opportunity. So I think that Kim has a prize for you for bingo. I'll have to follow up with that, but I do believe that we have a prize. So Canvas does have a great peer review feature. There are so many things of Canvas, so many tools, and we're going to have in our upcoming newsletters, we're actually going to be featuring the different ways and tools in Canvas that you can use them to leverage them for RSI, which I'm super excited about. Yes, Kim does have a prize for Natalie. Yay. Super excited. We love prizes. Prizes are amazing. So do we have any questions about regular and substantive interaction, those pieces? You know, a lot of it is initiated by the instructor, and it's the regular piece. It's planning it, it's purposeful, it's putting it into a schedule. And if you plan those pieces ahead of time, you can use things like scheduling announcements and having it regularly pop up. You don't have to just, do it on the fly. Can you preview what I will cover in part 2? Absolutely, I can preview what I will cover in part 2. So in 2 weeks, we're doing part 2 of regular and substantive interaction. And actually what we're going to be doing is more of those the hows and the strategies. So this is more the why and the where do I look and how do I get more information about what does this look like. And in 2 weeks, we're actually going to be doing more strategies and more practical application-based stuff. So hopefully you'll join us for that. I do love strategies. I'm all about the strategies. There is a lunch and learn where folks can work on their courses and share what they're working on in March. We're super excited about that workshop that's coming in March, and that will follow part 2 of RSI. So if you want to come down, we're going to have that one. We actually have some plans to do like working stations where you can go and actually interact with different pieces and get some, dig deep or take a look at some different ways to do it. So we're super excited about the RSI Lunch and Learn workshop. So please do bring your device. It will be hands-on. You will be working on it, and there will be people there to help you and answer questions. So our entire team is really excited about that. Right before spring break, I believe. I see someone typing, so I'm going to wait. All right, Natalie, bye-bye. Thanks for stopping in. Again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to the instructional design team, or you can email us at idconnect@tccd.edu, and someone from the team will reach out to you, or you can hit us up via Teams. And remember that we also have that instructional resources hub where we have that RSI section. A lot of that information that I covered today is more in depth if you need to take a look at it more carefully, more closely, or you just need to read it for yourself. Welcome, Weldon. I'm thinking that Weldon might have a question because it looks like typing is going on. You've been here from the beginning. Oh, well, I missed you coming in. I apologize, but glad that you don't have any questions. Well, if nobody else has any questions and we're good, I'm going to stop the recording and I'll hang around for just a few more minutes. In the event that something comes up, we'll stop the recording, we'll stop the transcription.